Chairman. You were very measured in that response. I would say absolutely. If this last administration was walking out the door, some of the people they promoted and the money that they spent, it should absolutely be reviewed and reconsidered. You were very measured, and I respect that. I want to first thank you for being here, and thank you for using your gifts and talents and expertise and volunteering to serve your country. Probably doesn't pay as well as you might make on the outside world, and I really respect people that do that, so thank you. And I also say thank you to your family. Some of them I've been getting to know better. I have found over the course of my career, especially during transitions to new roles, it's harder on the families than it is those of us going through the career transition, and so I appreciate you supporting them, being here with them today. I know it means a lot to them, and certainly we thank you for supporting them through this. I happen to think, and this might be, I'm only 2 months in, but I have seen a lot of confirmation hearings over my first 2 months, and I happen to think that this specific hearing is one of the most important that we will conduct. And a lot of people don't know a lot about the Office of Personnel and Management and the Office of Management and Budget. I think right now, at this moment in time in our nation's history, and with this kind of leader at the helm like President Trump, these are probably two of the most important positions in this administration. And I say that because when President Trump was elected, he said, I am going to address the sprawling federal government, the wasteful spending, and indeed, the results showed this administration was given a mandate to examine this unelected federal bureaucracy that has ballooned over the decades and return it to being accountable to those elected by the people and ultimately to we the people. And you're coming in at a time where you have a leader that is willing to be brave enough to make the really hard decisions and be bold about that up front and say, in many respects, probably a good idea, as I mentioned earlier, but in some, these are going to be some tough choices on spending and policy, but we've got to make them. At some point, some leader's going to be in the position where they're going to have to say, some president's going to have to say, enough is enough, we've got to do something. It's not right for the future of this country and our children and grandchildren not to do something and step up. And now you're coming in at a time where you're expected not only to bring your expertise and experience to these roles, but I believe one of the reasons President Trump has put together such a great team, the things that he's looking for is not just expertise in the role, but a very crucial trait is the ability to communicate the importance of the actions that are being taken to the American people. Because rightfully so, in any time of transition and change, if the public doesn't understand how we got here or what's going on, I happen to think as things are coming out, Americans are like, what do you mean we spend our hard-earned tax money on this woke and wasteful, nonsensical program that totally conflicts not only with my own values, but American values and interests? I think they're shocked in many respects. I also think they're shocked in many respects how fiscally irresponsible we have been, and now we find ourselves, and we've got to have people step in and take charge for the sake of this country. So coming into these roles, and I'll start with you, Mr. Kupor, how do you expect you will be able to take on that role of communicating transparently and responsibly in a way that understands the American public's anxiety with going through a necessary reevaluation of American priorities and spending?
Yeah, well, thank you, Senator, and I think you and I discussed this. Look, I believe communication is absolutely critical here. Having, unfortunately, in my private sector career, been through many types of restructurings, when you do things where you don't communicate the narrative and help people understand not just what we're doing, but also why we're doing it, what the implications are, quite frankly, people create their own narratives, and unfortunately, that often does bring them to very dark places. And so I think one of the things that I hope to do through OPM is for us to be a leader in talking about what we're doing, why we're doing it. And again, I think we can take the very hard actions that you're talking about, but also respect the fact that we are talking about people's jobs here, and we have to be respectful of that. But I don't think we should confuse that with the requirement to actually bring people along and help them understand exactly why we're doing what we're doing.
Mr. Yulin.
Absolutely. I associate myself with both Mr. Cooper's comments, and one of the things that Senator Nichols didn't mention is part of my experience up here in the Senate and in Congress was on the communication side, and the need for clarity of message, purposefulness of advocacy, explanation, as I talked about, to the committee, to Congress, to the workforce, to the general public, is something that seizes me, and if I am confirmed, will be something that will be part of the work that I do as the Deputy Director for Management.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator